and welcome to Crossfire, the show that dives into the heart of global conflicts where nations collide, alliances shift, and lives hang in the balance. Tonight we ask a burning question. Is Vladimir Putin really ready to reach for the nuclear button, as Ukraine is now using US-supplied ATACMS missiles to strike deep inside Russian territory? Also on the show, we try to decode if Pakistan is now trying to get its hands on hypersonic missiles after India successfully test-fired the projectiles earlier this week. Tensions are at an all-time high, and the world is holding its breath. Is Vladimir Putin really ready to press the nuclear button? This question is echoing globally as Ukraine begins using US-supplied ATACMS missiles against Russian forces. So how close are we to this nightmare scenario? In our special report, we delve into this escalating crisis, the growing nuclear fears, and the chilling question of what a nuclear war would mean for the entire planet.
It was a quiet morning on August 6, 1945. People were going about their daily routines in the Japanese city, when school children, workers, everyone caught off guard. This is when the explosion occurred. In less than 1 second, a fireball expanded to 900 feet, raising temperatures to 7,000 degrees Celsius. Soon, a firestorm erupted, followed by a crushing blast wave and intense heat. The city disappeared amid a churning foam of flames and smoke. Then came the black rain, full of dirt, soot, and highly radioactive particles. It caused contamination in areas far beyond the explosion zone. Cemeteries were uprooted, and churches turned to rubble. Over 2/3 of the buildings were completely wiped out and swept by fire. 70,000 to 80,000 people died, and later that number soared to somewhere between 90,000 and 166,000. Those who survived suffered from the effects of radiation sickness, ranging from nausea, bleeding, flash burns, a susceptibility to leukemia, cataracts, and tumors. The city was Hiroshima. And this was the horrendous, nightmarish experience that the Japanese people lived through after a nuclear attack. 3 days later, Nagasaki witnessed a similar fate. This was the time when the world first tested atomic bomb attacks. And instead of learning our lessons, the world seems to be moving in the same direction. But now, the stakes and cost are even higher. Over 7 decades later, the world possesses much more advanced nuclear weapons, capable of causing destruction on a scale and intensity that is difficult to imagine. At this juncture, Russian President Vladimir Putin has approved significant changes to the country's nuclear doctrine. The update outlines new conditions under which Russia would consider using its nuclear arsenal. So what are the changes? Under the new doctrine, an attack from a non-nuclear state, if backed by a nuclear power, would be considered a joint assault on Russia. This revision was proposed in September and has now been finalized. This means if the United States, a nuclear power, helps Ukraine in its attacks against Russia, Washington would be considered a direct party in the war. Now, these changes come at a time when the US has allowed Ukraine to launch long-range US missiles into Russia, and Kiev has already started using these weapons. On Tuesday, Ukraine fired 6 US-made ATACMS missiles at a military facility in Russia's Bryansk region. This essentially means a large-scale attack on Russia. Even using conventional missiles, drones, or aircraft could trigger a nuclear reaction. And this also applies to any attacks on Belarus or any threat to Russia's sovereignty. Furthermore, any aggression from a coalition of states will be viewed as a unified attack against Russia. This has raised fears as the new doctrine expands the criteria for a nuclear response. But what happens if Russia decides to go the nuclear route? What do we stand to lose? Russia possesses the world's largest stockpile of nuclear warheads, having inherited the Soviet Union's nuclear weapons. If we talk in numbers, Moscow possesses around 5,580 nuclear warheads, according to the Federation of American Scientists. Of these, 1,200 are retired but largely intact, and about 4,380 can be used by long-range strategic launchers and shorter-range tactical nuclear forces. These numbers mean Moscow could destroy the world many times over. Combined, the United States and Russia now possess approximately 88% of the world's total inventory of nuclear weapons. So a major nuclear war between the US and Russia would likely claim hundreds of millions of lives and create consequences that are unimaginable. In the case of a nuclear attack, anyone close to ground zero has little to no chance of surviving. The extreme heat causes severe burns and ignites fires over a large area. Those beyond the blast suffer from lung injuries, ear damage, and internal bleeding. It also produces long-term health consequences, cancer, and genetic damage. The attack would also disrupt the global climate. And thereafter, as many as 2 billion people with starvation in the long term due to nuclear famine. So any nuclear attack on a modern city would cripple the area beyond recovery and overwhelm any relief system we could build in advance. But the important question is, will Russia go nuclear? Experts say the answer is yes, but only if its own nuclear forces come under concerted Western attack. But will Putin take the nuclear path because of Ukraine's use of US-made long-range missiles and British Storm Shadow missiles? Well, Moscow wants the world to think so. But with so much at stake, one cannot leave any space for miscalculation. Many NATO countries, including Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, are asking their citizens to prepare for a potential war. The West must take Russia's new nuclear doctrine more seriously to avoid further escalation.
As the Russia-Ukraine war rages on, Kyiv is now facing a new challenge: finding soldiers to sustain the fight against Russia. In a desperate bid to bolster its military ranks, the Ukrainian government has ramped up conscription efforts. And the measures? Well, let's just say they've gotten a lot more aggressive. Our next report tells you more.
In Ukraine, a nation fighting on its last nerve as the war with Russia grinds into its third year. The battleground isn't just in the east, it's spilling into the streets. Shocking videos have emerged showing men violently conscripted by mobs of military recruiters. In one shocking video, a man is seen walking with his partner when military officers wearing baklavas approach him. He's slammed against a wall and a brutal knee strike sends him crumpling to the grounds before he's dragged into a van. In another instance, a soldier delivers a flying kick to a civilian trying to flee before a group forces him into an SUV. These aren't isolated incidents. Videos like these are flooding social media, painting a stark picture of a country struggling to maintain its fighting force. The aggressive recruitment drive comes after Ukraine passed new laws in April to intensify mobilization efforts. The draft age was lowered to 25, bringing thousands more men into the conscription pool, and exemptions for university students were removed. Under martial law, all men aged 18 to 60 are eligible for service and barred from leaving the country. Ukrainian commanders have repeatedly warned that they are not getting enough troops to hold the line in the east, where Russian forces are steadily advancing. But the cost of this desperation is taking a toll. Men are risking their lives to escape recruitment. Reports say at least 30 men have died attempting to flee Ukraine since the war began, either by drowning in rivers or freezing to death while crossing mountain passes. Military officials are trying to address the shortfall by sweetening the deal for volunteers, offering financial incentives and even allowing certain convicts to enlist. But the fear and resistance among civilians persist. But now the question is, how long can Ukraine sustain this level of internal pressure while also fighting a relentless external enemy? For the people of Ukraine, the battle isn't just against Russian forces. It's also a fight to maintain unity and hope within their borders. With recruitment efforts becoming more extreme, the line between survival and sacrifice is growing dangerously thin.
And now let's shift our focus to Israel's multi-front conflict, where the dynamic may be shifting dramatically on the ground. Israel's military campaign in Gaza may just have suffered a serious blow. The Merkava 4, IDF's most advanced battle tank and a symbol of its military power, has been destroyed in Gaza. So how big a problem could this turn out to be for the IDF? Our next report decodes this for you.
The Merkava 4 is a technological marvel, loaded with advanced armor, cutting-edge defense systems, and a reputation for being nearly invincible. Its weaponry includes a 120mm main gun capable of firing armor-piercing shells, and an array of machine guns and grenade launchers. It's often compared to tanks like the American M1A2 Abrams and the German Leopard 2. But reports and videos emerging from Gaza show the tank in flames, allegedly hit by an anti-tank missile. For Israel, this is more than just the loss of a tank. It's a psychological blow. The Merkava 4 has long been a centerpiece of its defense strategy, designed to project invulnerability. Its destruction is a stark reminder that even the best technology has limits in urban warfare. Many believe that this incident could force Israel to rethink its ground strategy in Gaza. The narrow streets and dense urban terrain provide the perfect setting for anti-tank ambushes. This is not the first time that Israel has lost its Merkava tanks in the ongoing conflict. In its October 7 attack on Israel last year, Hamas claimed to have destroyed and captured several Merkava tanks along the border region. The heavy tank losses in the Israeli inventory, as well as other battlefields across the world, prove that even the most advanced tanks are not invincible. While Israel's Iron Dome is unmatched in the skies, its challenges on the ground are now painfully clear.
In the world of military strategy, one thing is clear. Pakistan will stop at nothing to keep pace with India, even if it means borrowing, buying, or bartering for advanced military technology. After India's successful test flight of its first long-range hypersonic missile last week, speculation is rife. Will Pakistan make its next big move by acquiring hypersonic missile technology? And more importantly, what does this mean for India's security? Our next report tells you more.
India's successful test firing of a hypersonic missile has sent shockwaves across the region, with defense analysts predicting a new arms race in South Asia. And now, all eyes are on Pakistan, after India's extraordinary achievement, marking its place among a select few nations capable of deploying a hypersonic technology. Pakistan is now reportedly gearing up to counter this strategic leap. Defense experts say Islamabad won't sit idle and may explore multiple avenues to maintain strategic parity with its neighbor. The most likely source? None other than Islamabad's all-weather ally, China. Reports suggest Pakistan could seek the Dongfeng 17 or DF-17, China's cutting-edge hypersonic missile. For Pakistan, this isn't just about security, it's also a matter of national pride. Historically, Pakistan's military has sought parity with India as a show of strength, even if the practical benefits are questionable. Experts believe Pakistan's hypersonic ambitions heavily depend on external help, primarily from China, or perhaps even North Korea. However, achieving technical independence in this area remains a distant dream for Pakistan. For now, the more realistic goal for Pakistan is to leverage China's assistance, not only to counter India's missile advancements, but also to maintain its position in the region's power dynamics. So, will Pakistan succeed in joining the hypersonic club? That remains to be seen. What's certain is that India's advancements have sparked a new wave of competition in the subcontinent, one that could redefine military balance in the region. The question now is, how far will Pakistan go to keep up?
And with that, it's time to wrap up this edition of Crossfire. Thank you so much for joining us on India Today Global.